telehealth, but
I don't know that we'll get to that specifically, but I think there's a chance that's a pretty big conversation because it's going to depend a little on what you're seeing and whether they're actually pests or whether they're doing good things. And
okay.
Just because there's critters in the soil doesn't mean they're necessarily doing damage. Some of them are
Okay.
there and very, very beneficial. So, yeah.
Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. I know we've got some other folks who will be joining. We've got a nice intimate group so far right now, so that's fun. Really appreciate you joining us. I'm Elizabeth Beggins. I am the Maryland Agriculture Outreach Specialist for the Million Acre Challenge. And the Million Acre Challenge is a collaborative project with 6 founding organizational partners and a goal of 1 million acres of Maryland agricultural land in regenerative practices by 2030. I'll start the poll with just the couple of you who are here, and maybe some others will have the opportunity to jump in. It just gives us a chance, and we could even just say this out loud, but if you guys don't mind going ahead and answering these questions. Actually, Lisa, for some reason, it's telling me I'm logged in on a different device and I can't launch the poll. I have no idea what that means.
Everyone's seeing it now.
Are folks seeing the poll?
I can see it.
Now you're triple tasking, Tisha.
Right. Well, I just parked. so I could read this. That's all right.
Amanda and Connie, thanks for joining us. We're just getting started with our poll just to give us a sense of who's here. I'll keep going while you all work on filling that out. This slide is just a quick capture of some of the work that the Million Acre Challenge is involved with. I'm going to highlight mostly the top 2. The soil testing and benchmarking is brought to us by PASA, the Pennsylvania Association for Sustainable Agriculture, and it's a long-term research project that began with Future Harvest in partnership with PASA, and when the Million Acre Challenge emerged, it became part of the Million Acre Challenge. Lisa Garfield, my colleague who's with us, heads that up and is working this year with just over 40 farmers in the coming season. So that is an opportunity that we are happy to be able to offer. It is limited in the number of folks that we can offer it to right now, both for staffing and funding capacity, but we do hope to continue to grow that. And there are ways to be involved as a citizen scientist if you can't get involved in the full project. So if that piques your interest, soil testing on your farm over a long-term research-based kind of situation, check back in with us on that. Our farmer-to-farmer networking, you're doing it right now. And we also offer other opportunities for folks to connect with each other. We are excited about launching knowledge cooperatives this year, which are for some of our more advanced producers to put them in community with one another. And it's by production system, and we plan to build that out across Maryland and have opportunities for folks to do that in different regions of the state so that hopefully it'll be accessible to everyone. The main thing I want to leave with you guys today is just that we are a farmer-focused initiative. We have always advertised that we see farmers as the experts, not us, and really recognizing that you all are already working to steward the land, and we're just here to help you do that and to find resources that'll benefit you on that journey. I'd love to encourage you to go ahead, if you haven't already, to enroll in the Million Acre Challenge. It's a really simple survey. You find it on our website. It gives us a little more detail about your management practices and helps us, again, know what kind of support is needed out there in the community. We have a funding opportunity unrolling almost as we speak. The Regional Conservation Partnership Program which you will need to go into your NRCS office to pursue, but it is funding that supports soil health and climate smart practices for all production systems of all scales, sort of based on EQIP and CSP programs, if you're at all familiar with those. Some folks find that the funding here is going to help in ways that they haven't been able to access funding before, either because the scale was not right or because they were so far along that they weren't eligible anymore. So definitely check into that. We have an event coming up on June 22nd, the Origins of Regenerative Agriculture Farmer Panel that we're excited about. So stay tuned to our events page and social media to find out more about how you can get involved in that. And that QR code just takes you to our most recent newsletter, which reiterates all the things I just said. So that's a way for you to track back to that. Okay, did we already stop the poll? Yes. I don't know, Lisa.
Yes, we did. And we have one farmer, one aspiring farmer, a farm service provider, and an other. So a lot of variation in our small group. And there's interest in funding opportunities. There's one we just mentioned, farmer-to-farmer networks, mixed species cover crops, and reducing fertilizer or herbicide use. So a lot of variety in our small group today.
Yeah, I think we have one of everybody almost. So I'm really pleased to introduce Tiffany Durbin. Hi, Jeffrey. Thanks for joining us. Tiffany's husband, Todd, may be listening in. I'm not sure. I don't see him on the line, Tiffany. Okay. I wanted to give a hat tip to him if he was in the room. This couple are newer owners of a very old property, and they have really big plans. Tiffany and Todd have begun renovations on their house. They are raising layer hens and delivering eggs, fresh baked breads, and other farm products locally. They both still hold down full-time jobs, and they're raising 4 children. The property includes an historic barn that Tiffany sees as the site of her future farm market. And today she's going to talk to us about the progress they're making and what lies ahead for Whitehall Farm Market. Tiffany, I'm really pleased that you were able to join us today. And at this point, we're just going to breeze past this slide because I want to go ahead and get started with questions, which is what that slide is. And I can ask those without necessarily needing other folks to have a chance to peruse those. Okay, Tiffany, you took over the farm, I think 2 years ago, and you know, it had come down through a long line of your family. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, about the bicentennial designation and kind of what it's feeling like to be stewards of this land now?
Hi, so while we are a bicentennial farm, it's really like we're first-time farmers. The farm was leased out for decades and we bought it with no equipment or anything. So we are truly starting from the beginning, which can be good because we have this blank slate to work with and turn into whatever we can dream of. A con of that, of course, is we couldn't just jump in and start because there's so much to do to get it to the point that we can start. And of course, finances, for example, we're currently saving up to get a used tractor. So Todd was active duty Army and he was looking to transition from that. He was just retired last year, actually, after 16 years. But we had both always wanted to be farmers. We love that life and then we wanted a good chunk of land for kids and life. And it was one of those, hey, we want to get married and get some baby cows and build a life together sort of thing. So we didn't plan on buying this farm, especially not at the time, but it didn't matter if the farm was here or there, or if he was stationed at Fort Campbell or somewhere else. We just knew we wanted to have a farm. Before we bought the farm, Todd was actually planning to attend UMD in their agriculture program for soil health studies. But due to buying the farm, family life, work life, that plan sort of went belly up as plans tend to do when you're an adult. And now here we are trying to fix the place up. We both have a little farming background. I grew up on a farm, rode horses, did 4-H, livestock, had a garden. But on a larger scale, we are both new. As previously, as I said, it's been leased out, but we're slowly trying to save up so that we have the ability to change that. So for us, having the farm means we don't care if we're successful. We just want to make it as easy as possible for the next generation to come in and not have to struggle like we are. We want them to be able to go and turn it into whatever they want to do. because my kids love the farm, and while they're young, and of course their career and life goals will change. Like my oldest, he says he wants to be an engineer for NASA, but he says he also wants to take over the farm. I want it to be a viable and successful option for them, should they want to take it over, because while the farm is old, we're actually just beginning. Our plan is to spend our time getting equipment, tractors, trucks, implements, storage, soil health, starting the market so that things are easy for the next generation. They can just jump in. Even if we don't become the super popular, profitable farm doing everything, we're totally fine with that, because each thing that we're doing and struggling with and learning from means that from the next generation won't have to, because as a parent, you want your kids to have things easier, and we don't want them to have to stumble with things like we are. So for us, it's not about us, it's about the next generation.
You were, one of the reasons you and I came to know each other is that Tiffany entered the Million Acre Challenges Count Your Acres sweepstakes back at the beginning of the year and tail end of last year. And they were our third prize winners. And but I'm curious, like, what inspired you to enter at all? Was it just about the prize, or was it something else?
So one of the things that we did when we first bought the farm was we tried to address some water issues we have. We contacted Soil Conservation, the Maryland Department of Environment, and I think it was water and storm drainage, but that didn't really amount to much. So soil health has always been something we've been aware of and are trying to fix and educate ourselves on, and something we're just trying to learn more about. And then the Million Acre Challenge showed up in my feed one day, and I said, oh, another organization I can follow, because we follow so many organizations, especially as new farmers, to try and learn. Off the top of my head, there's Common Grain Alliance, Farmer Veteran Coalition, the UMD Ag Program, and then we network with other local farmers as well to gain their knowledge. So when we're winding down for the day, after the kids in bed, we're researching like crazy from all of the information from these great organizations, great new methods like planning, research, grants, and other farms to learn from. And if you think about that, that's amazing, because decades ago, they didn't have social media to connect with other farmers, or YouTube to watch how-to videos, or all these amazing organizations and knowledge at your fingertips at a split second. So for us, it's just constant learning. And we're so grateful to win and be able to extend our learning and research more so we can learn.
So Tiffany tells me that Todd has taken this book, which was what they did with their prize money, and he's reading it clandestinely at work. So if anybody from Todd's work is listening in, just know that it's going to a really good and long-term cause. How are you feeling about your progress so far, Tiffany? You and I have talked a bit about this, but what's it feeling like? You've got 75 acres and 4 kids and a lot that you want to achieve. You've talked about how it not being about you, but about sort of the next generation, but what's it feeling like?
Honestly, we're trying. We're still here and surviving, so that's positive. But it's not easy. It seems like every time we try and attempt something, it has 10 other problems behind it that need to be addressed. So for example, the other day, I was trying to take down some wallpaper. Well, there's plaster walls, of course, and the plaster needed to be repaired. But instead of repairing the plaster, someone put up screen and done drywall mud all over it. So I was trying to steam this wallpaper off. It was taking the drywall and mud and screen. So it's like, it was just crumbling and it was just a mess. So what I thought was going to be this easy job turned into 10 other steps, and it's now this huge job. Like I just wanted to paint a wall. And like for the farm, we just got a truck last year, and Todd is still working on getting that up and running so we can hopefully get a tractor to transport back and pick up other needs and things like that. And thankfully, he's a very skilled heavy wheel mechanic. He actually worked for Kubota for a while after leaving active duty. So getting things used is a huge plus financially, but then you're losing that time aspect for all the time it takes to fix. So there's a give and take, but it's not easy to start from the beginning. When I say beginning, I mean like we're actually prequel kind of, because there's so many things that have to be fixed, which means it's probably going to take us years to really see accomplishment, but which can be hard. Because when we've just finished planting all day and you're sitting and staring, there's so much to do still. But I think that's what makes me and Todd such a good team, is we spend every day just rooting for each other, and we're happy. Todd comes along and reminds me we've already done so much. You can't see it, but we're doing great. Because like when we first started the farm, I was like, let's do this and this, and like, let's do all this, and so many dreams and aspirations. It was super exciting to have this massive blank slate to work with and turn into literally whatever we wanted. But we had to really rein it in. We had to be extremely careful not to take too much on, of course, due to finances, but more majorly due to time. There's only so much time in the day. Just this past week alone, the transmission cable went out in my truck. We had to build another chicken coop, a bed, and then there's regular family life, homework, soccer games. And so time is what really holds us back, along with physical capabilities. Todd's a disabled vet with severe leg and back issues. So there are days when, he can't help me till like the afternoon or at all. So we took a blank slate, started from scratch. We're just checking off down the list as we go. We really had to prioritize with the list because when I first came, I wanted to jump in and do everything. But we made a list, and right now the farmhouse is at the top of the list. It needs extensive work because it is so old, and the kind of work we're doing hasn't been done in, I couldn't even begin to tell you how long. Complete overhauls in electric and plumbing and infrastructure. It's a lot harder because we're not just painting drywall and putting in a fancy faucet. This isn't an HGTV 30-minute House Hunters special. We're trying to do it in a historically accurate manner, which means plaster repair, and you just can't get these floorboards from Home Depot. And a lot more repair and restoration. That's why I always say we're doing a restoration, not a renovation. So it has to be done with a lot of love and care. And we don't want our kids, or whichever one wants to live in it, to have to wonder if like things are done right, or if a pipe will fail and water will leak. So right now the farmhouse is at the top of our list. And then my next project will be moving one of our historic barns to put up a physical market on the farm. The only thing holding me back from that right now is just the financial aspect, because I would absolutely love to have a market on the actual farm, especially with gas prices right now. We just need to save more funds for that. So now we have a long list of things to do and all of our aspirations that we're just slowly going to try and get through the decades. We're not going anywhere. We'll be at the farm until the end of our days is the plan. But our main goal is just get things, equipment, tractors, everything set up for the next generation, because all of my kids have expressed interest in farming. I don't want them to have to start from the negative like we are. They can just take it and go.
It's aspirational and inspirational. You have the largest majority of your acres right now are in grain production. And I'm curious to know what you foresee happening with that part of the process. I know there's been, some family leasing that land or, handling that for you, but what do you see down the road for that part of the operation?
Once we get more of the equipment, my main goal is to switch us to like more community focused farm. I want to be able to open a market and connect with the community, which I can't really, besides the people I deliver to, I want to be able to connect with the community that has supported my farm and other local farms in the area. And we can't really do that with the grain production. It's sort of like a drop and go sort of thing. So with the barn, I'd really love to slowly switch up to that. And I'd also like to switch over to wheat. I'm a baker. So of course, it'd be totally amazing to grow my own wheat. So it's in the plan to switch to that. We currently get our wheat and berries from a local Maryland farm. And that's what I use in my baked goods currently. And I love it. It's working out so well. And I love supporting the local wheat. So many people have come to me and they've now gotten their flour from them too. And then I'd also like to expand our vegetable acreage and switch to more pasture as well as we expand our egg laying chickens. And hopefully I really want to get some broilers down the road and other livestock, hopefully.
Do you want to mention the name of the farm that you're working with for the grain?
Oh yeah, we get our grain from Migrash Farm. Lovely, great farm. I could not be happier with the flour. It's totally different than what you buy at the store. It's so great.
Yeah, they are definitely.
Currently their mill is down. I believe it's been down since February, March, which stinks. I think something happened, but it's currently down. But
We can maybe pop their farm name into the chat because they're a wonderful resource and part of this growing community that is, no pun intended, that is working towards community and soil health, as you mentioned. You are making some compost out of some of what's coming from your chickens, I think. How is that? How are you making use of that?
Well, it was one of those things of why not? Let's try and see what happens. We're currently, it's currently in the rest phase that we're doing with that because we use the deep litter method. That's some of it in the tractor right there. So currently, and then we're mixing with the green matter and we're gonna see how that goes. This year, I'm not sure if we'll use it this year or next year, or maybe we'll use it in the winter. This year to keep things, like I said, we're doing the house restoration to keep things easy. We're doing a massive pumpkin patch this year. So.
And it looks like from that previous picture that you're doing some of your own soil blocking too.
Yes, I love soil blocks. When we first bought the farm, a nursery was going out of business and we got their black, the planter pots for free, which was awesome, but they all were like broken and then we broke some too. And I was like, this is such a waste. So I went out and got soil blocks and I cannot recommend it enough. It is so amazing. They don't get root bound to the pot or anything. And I have never had so much success with seed starting. It's great.
Do you remember where you got them from?
I believe I got them from Johnny's. We're members of Farmer Veteran Coalition, and they do discounts through Johnny's. So we like to use Johnny's for a lot of things.
So let's talk about your chickens because Tiffany and I bonded over chickens while we were getting to know each other a little bit. Tell us about your chicken and egg operation.
When we first moved here, it was one of those things of chickens are so easy to start. You don't need much. And the kids love it. The kids just absolutely love the chickens. And I have had great success with my subscription model with the eggs, working out very well. We have probably about 150 chickens now. Each year we try and add a lot more so we can open up our subscription access. It's going great and the kids just absolutely love them and everyone around here loves them as well.
So I think we'll move a little beyond this slide because you have talked a bit about how the house is your priority and then building infrastructure and equipment. Like I feel about an awful lot of the farmers that I connect with, I feel like I don't know how anybody has time to actually sleep. It's amazing all the things you're doing. Speaking of pumpkins.
Yeah, cute little white ones.
So I know that you're also producing some artisan food products. The eggs look like, something out of a really expensive magazine. Looks like Todd is turning some things. Tell me.
Oh, the eggs there, those are from Easter.
But these are the one before. Yeah.
Yeah, that was our attempt at dyeing brown eggs. So.
And it looks like you use natural dyes.
Mm-hmm.
So Todd is also turning some things.
Yeah, he loves woodworking. That's another thing we moved the barn is that would give him more space to open his woodworking hobby and for the business as well. His dream is to make furniture. Whereas before we did more small things, such as in that picture, wood bowls. We did for farmers, we did engraved egg holders. You could see in that picture before, it was the farm name engraved into the egg holder. Everyone loved that. And the woodworking's just fun, but when we bought the farm, we had to transition that back further priority wise.
I personally can't stop looking at the bread, but that's just me. So obviously the barn has some love needed, and please keep us posted on how that project goes for you. I want some periodic updates on what's happening with the barn project. I want to go ahead and sort of wrap up the slideshow here and leave us a few minutes here at the end for folks to answer or ask questions. I know that Tiffany has to hop off right at 12:30, so I want to honor that that time constraint for her.
I'm going to go ahead and put my email in chat too.
Yep. You are welcome to put questions in chat or to just hopefully say them out loud, since we're such a small community here today. Anybody have something they want to know more about? So Tisha asked before we really got rolling about insects in the soil and, kind of how to deal with that. Tisha, I don't know if you have the ability to ask a little bit further, but you specified ants. I'm going to actually maybe turn over to Lisa here, our soil scientist, to kind of weigh in on soil pests.
Ants don't typically eat vegetable plants, but they can indicate that you have aphids on some of your plants. So ants actually farm aphids so that they have a food source. So I would look for evidence of aphids and see if that's actually the issue. Other than that, ants shouldn't really be an issue in terms of like the health of your plants.
Okay, I noticed them in a really large strawberry raised bed. I just kind of looked under the foliage and just saw lots and lots and lots of them. I didn't look for aphids, but I will go back and look for aphids. So I don't know if it's the raised bed, the soil. I just need maybe change that out. It's at a community garden plot.
Well, I guess they will be attracted to fruit. I mean, they could be feeding on strawberries that have already started to decay, not necessarily immature fruit or the fresh fruit.
I don't have any berries yet. They're just starting to flower. Actually, they're flowering right now.
Well, I wouldn't worry too much about changing out the soil for ants. I think there are other pests that, that might warrant that, some really bad pests, but generally, even with other pests, depending on the population, there may be other biological controls you can use or other cultural practices that you could use before actually having to swap out soil.
Okay. And at a community garden plot, I mean, it's about 600 square feet. What do you recommend as kind of the best method to improve the soil there? We have access to wood chips and some compost, varying qualities of compost, depending on the drop. But I can bring some things in, but it just gets really expensive also.
We might have.
Well, I'm considering using a cover crop, even to build up some rather than
Lisa, we're having some trouble with your feed. You might want to try going off video. And I'm actually gonna, because I'm so interested in making sure Tiffany gets out the door on time, I want to go ahead and just pause here. Tisha, you're welcome to stick around, but let's give Tiffany a round of applause and thank her so we can get her on her way. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Well
Thank
done.
you so much.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate having you, and we're inspired by all the work you're doing there. Have a great rest of your day, Tiffany, and Tisha, stick around if you want to continue with Lisa for just a minute.
Thank you.
Hi, sorry I got dropped there for a moment. So Cover cropping is an option, but I would say test your soil first before making any big purchases or other amendments. If you haven't yet, send a soil test off to see what might be lacking. It's often a lot less than what you think. And sometimes you can get away with just a small amount of amendments to kind of balance the soil nutrients to get started, and then just continue adding organic materials as you move forward. And make sure to use mulch whenever possible, because keeping soil covered, especially with organic materials like leaves, straw, that's really protecting the organic matter that you have and the soil biology that you have.
Okay.
And then, you know, it over time will break down. And the more you're adding, even though you're kind of surface adding, some of it is breaking down and being added to the soil. And then,
So I added leaf mulch. Do you mean
Huh?
a heavier mulch? I added lots of leaf mulch this spring. Should I add more or different
well,
type?
I even mean just to the surface of the soil. So,
Okay.
you know, especially in a raised bed situation, in addition to incorporating organic matter into the soil, keeping the soil covered is really going to help you protect that soil organic matter moving forward. So, you know, it helps stop nutrients like nitrogen from volatilizing out into the atmosphere, and it keeps the soil biology that's so important alive. It helps regulate water and temperature and all these things that are really necessary for healthy soil. So always using mulch, and that can be leaves or it could be straw. Straw is great, great mulch material. And if you can in the winter, if you're not growing all winter, you really could plant a cover crop within the bed, and then in the spring, just use a tarp to terminate it. And that way
Okay.
you're really adding all that biomass right in place.
Okay.
And there's lots of different options, and feel free to get in touch. You can email me for suggestions. It's lisa@futureharvest.org. When you're getting, you know, if you get to the point where you want to think about planting a cover crop, I'd be happy to make some suggestions.
Oh, great. I'm actually in the beginning farmer program.
Oh, great. Okay. Then I've talked to you before.
Yes, yes, yes. I mostly communicate with Joanna.
Yeah.
But yeah, so nice to meet you, Lisa. So thank you.
Sure.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tisha. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Henriette, I know you just jumped in, but you actually are coming in right as we're about to finish up. Does anybody have one more sort of burning question? I don't want to cut us off.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Hi, can I ask a question? Hi, I'm Jeffrey. I'm in the beginning farmer training program as well. The one thing I want to ask is about doing this cover crop thing is that I remember several sessions we had so far about the importance of emphasizing no-till. So I'm curious about combining this no-till with the cover crop thing. Do we have to till it first before we can actually do the cover cropping, getting it started, or can we start that without having to till first?
Well, it does. It kind of depends what system you're using. A lot of people do find that they need to till once in order to get, like if you're preparing new ground, you may need to till once before planting a cover crop. That's not always the case, depending on what kind of soil you have or what situation you're starting with. You know, you could still kind of do a minimal tillage situation, really just a surface tillage, if you maybe have already used tarps, or if you're growing in raised beds of some sort. But I would say don't, you know, sure, it's not ideal, but I wouldn't worry too much about that one tillage episode. Sometimes it's just really necessary and it's worth the trade-off.
Okay, so sometimes the first time we need to till it first just to get started, to prepare us for no-till.
Yeah.
Um,
If you're preparing new ground,
Well, ground that's
you
been
need to
fallow for
terminate,
2 decades or something.
yeah.
And I know in my circumstance, Jeffrey, it was sort of a rotational thing. Sometimes I felt like because I had some perennial Bermuda grass that would just get going. And so for me, I occasionally had to come in with some more in-depth tilling, and then I would hold off for as long as I could on those beds. But so I guess what I'm saying is it's very circumstantial, and it's up to you and your management practices and the soil that you're using and the weed pressure that you're having and what you're growing. So it may not be an all or nothing. It may not be a till once and you're done. You have to kind of assess that, in my opinion, kind of as the season goes along. But you're right. I think the goal of no or low till is really a good one to have in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying because I'm just getting started, so I want to make sure I do in the right.
Joanne, did you have a question?
A really quick one. I'm having trouble finding straw for mulch that isn't full of seeds. I mean, in my strawberries right now, I have a good oat harvest coming. You know, what are the sources?
That is definitely an issue. I mean, one thing you can do is you can pre-wet the straw and kind of let it pre-sprout before spreading it. Another thing is that even though wheat straw or other types of straw are often weedy, the weeds are usually easier to deal with than the weeds you would be dealing with if you didn't have it mulched with straw. And so it's a little bit of a trade-off there. I mean, in my experience, if you go in with just a regular hoe, you can kind of undercut those plants coming up without too much effort, and and then kind of leave them in place. And they're a lot better than other weeds that you would have. So
Thank you.
again, like not a perfect solution, but.
All right, folks, thank you so much for your time and your extra few minutes of attention and curiosity and your desire to delve into the world of farming. It's richly rewarding and also, as you heard from Tiffany, kind of never ending. So hats off to all of us who are working in that space. Again, please consider following the Million Acre Challenge on social media if you don't already. That's the best way to keep up with what's happening and what kinds of things we're offering. And you can go ahead and enroll in the challenge by going to our website at millionacrechallenge.org. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.